to my eyes. When you see me on a show, when you see these fans, you know you've got the best in the damn world.
This is the Wrestling Matters podcast where we stand up for professional wrestling.
Here we fucking go!
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change!
Professional wrestling! This is it! This is us standing up! Yes! 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 Yes!
That's 13-14!
Dina, I am the best in the world.
Cause that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold said so.
Beautiful wrestling fans all over the world, it is me, H-E-A-D, back with you for another installment of the Wrestling Matters podcast, your weekly dose of professional wrestling. That's right, how you guys doing? Hope you guys are well and whatever it is you are doing. And yeah, a lot to get through on today's show, ladies and gents. So this could go 60 minutes, this could go an hour. This could go an hour. Well, 60 minutes is an hour, you moron. So yeah, this could go 60 minutes, this could go an hour and a half, this could go 2 hours. It's not going to go longer than 2 hours, I'll make sure of that. But it is going to be an action-packed show, no question about that. So on today's show, you beautiful people, we're going to talk Clash of Champions. That's right, I want to review Clash of Champions. We're going to talk Smackdown, a very piss-poor Raw. More on that later. We're going to talk a few other things as well about TNA. We're going to talk a double dose of TNA this week as well. A double dose of Ring of Honor. And a double dose of NXT as well. That'll be in part 3. Part 4 rather. That'll be all in as one together. Ring of Honor, NXT, TNA as well. We're going to talk about them as one. So yeah, it's going to be great nonetheless. And we're also going to talk ICW, a double dose of ICW wrestling as well with the last week's Friday Night Fight Club and this week's Friday Night Fight Club also. So it should be all great as well. Hopefully there is a Friday Night Fight Club on this week. If not, I'll definitely take last week's instead. So you're going to get ICW nonetheless. Also, we're going to have part 2 of the Evren Orion interview. We're going to talk, I might throw in, depending on how times, it's going to subject to change, guys, but I might throw in some top 10s from What Culture, see how that pans out. It just sees how the show pans out today, guys, how the show goes today, because it is an action-packed show. It is a big show today because we've got a lot to get through, so we'll see how it goes today. If we don't do a top 10 this week, I'll definitely do one next week. There's a few top 10s that I'm interested in doing. It's just whether or not I can get them in on the show. But like I say, if I don't do it this week, I'll definitely do it next week. And if I can fit one in, I'll give you one today. We'll see how that pans out. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you can listen to this podcast on the Swerve Network with Max Wrestling, Offshoot Radio, Sunday Segway, each and every week. Also, be sure to check out Evan McCabe's podcast as well. Fortunately, he's not doing any podcasts anymore, but check out his podcast on there as well. And yeah, check it out each and every week from, I think it's Saturday or Friday to Monday. I know, because I'm always last on Monday. Be sure to check that out as well. And yeah, enjoy the goodness that is the podcasting of the Swerve Talk Network each and every week. Also, check out Mystery Island as well. And now, I believe I got to see this on the Facebook.com, and I believe Flash Morgan Webster, I believe, is coming to Mystery Island. I will double check that just to make sure I am not hallucinating, but I do believe the little Flash Morgan Webster is coming to Mystery Island. Like I say, I'm going to double check that now. If you want more information on the Mystery Island team, shout out to you guys. It is 56 to 58 Oxton Road, Birkenhead in Liverpool. Go and check them out. And for more information, go to facebook.com/Back to the Island. And you know it makes sense, guys. You know it makes sense. The toy shop in Birkenhead is at a 5-star rating on Facebook. And yeah, I was right. Flash Morgan Webster is coming to Mystery Island in Birkenhead as well, and I believe it's on October 22nd. He's coming, actually. October 22nd. He's coming to Mystery Island. Flash Morgan Webster, MODC. Saturday 2:30. 13 people are already going. Mystery Island in Birkenhead. Also, be sure to check out Wrestle Island. One ring to rule them all. Sunday 3 o'clock. Little Theatre in Birkenhead. And and that will be on there as well. That's November 27th for that one as well, guys. I believe that's their first wrestling show. I heard that they were getting their own wrestling promotion. I might be wrong, but I believe it's their own wrestling promotion. I might be wrong on that, but I heard them I'm pretty sure I remember them talking about it. But like I say, guys, for more information on all of this, go to Mystery Island, facebook.com/Back to the Island for more information. That's a lot to get through as well. Right, guys. Also, check out the Wrestling Matters podcast on youtube.com/AJW Wrestling Matters, soundcloud.com/wrestling_matters_podcast, the occasion Spreaker.com as well. But with that being said, and by the way, you can download these episodes for free on SoundCloud. But with that being said, ladies and gents, I've got a few things I'd like to talk about before we get into the major pieces of this puzzle that is the podcast. This week, I found out I read on the internet, that Bound for Glory is coming up. And now, Wrestling Zone 5, Episode 5 with me and Michael Larkin is coming very, very soon to this podcast. Also, the audio is going to be up ASAP, so be sure to check that out. It's going to be on YouTube and SoundCloud, but I'll be playing parts of that podcast on this show very, very soon, so be sure to look out for that. But I read this week that TNA is in a bit of trouble. Or in a lot of trouble, quite frankly, because we all heard the rumor that Vince McMahon is going to try and buy TNA. There's also this rumor that's flying around that Billy Corgan wants to finalize the fact that he's now in charge and bought TNA Wrestling, and he wants to finalize that at Bound for Glory pay-per-view. But there's an issue, because it seems that TNA cannot fund Bound for Glory. From what I read this week. Yeah, the funding on Bound for Glory is... So, Bound for Glory may very well be cancelled. I don't know, I haven't read any, as I'm doing this right now, I haven't read any news or anything like that in terms of what's going on. As a matter of fact, I'll check to see if there's any news or any updates on TNA. Bound for Glory being cancelled and that while I'm doing this right now. This is all off the bat even. But, yeah. TNA's in a lot of trouble, and it just goes back to what I was saying. Back in the day, back with them scumbag, TNA marks. This is what we're talking about, guys. TNA's in a lot of trouble, big time trouble. Apparently, it says here Matt and Jeff Hardy creatively drawing wrestling fans to Bound for Glory. I'll check that out now. But that was what we're saying, guys. I mean, we don't want TNA. I don't want TNA to go out of business. But it's these stupid decisions that they're making. I mean, it's like listening. It's like watching WCW. I mean, TNA now is what WCW was back in the day. Before Bischoff got out of it. They're losing money. They're in so much debt. It's unbelievable. Apparently, Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy are creatively drawing wrestling fans to Bound for Glory. Apparently, Matt has creative control of that character that he's got, the broken Matt Hardy. Apparently, he has full creative control, like the Hulk Hogan role. And I think from what I've read as well this week, that TNA's the contract with the Hardy Boys in TNA is up in February. And from what I've been told, Vince McMahon is interested in broken Matt Hardy as well, from what I've been told. So, will TNA, I don't know. Like it says here, guys, I'll see if I can read this one out. TNA Bound for Glory faces cancellation, even though the Hardys are drawing them to it. Yeah, the main event at Bound for Glory is EC3 and Bobby Lashley. More on Bobby Lashley later on. As TNA seeks new ownership with WWE among the handful interested parties, the possibility of Bound for Glory actually airing is coming down to a dramatic photo finish. Flights for the show, in addition to matches for next week's round of Impact tapings, have reportedly been cancelled as TNA scrambles to generate funds for survival. This pretty much shows it there. And that got from Forbesy.com. I'll tell you what, I'll put that in the description, guys. That might be an old one, but at the end of the day, it's the truth at the end of the day, guys. TNA is in a lot of bother. Right, I'll get away from TNA. I'll be back on TNA later on with the shows and everything. That's if they are still doing shows. But, yeah, I want to talk about No Mercy. That's right. Possible No Mercy, and a little quick Smackdown news as well. It's pretty much guaranteed, ladies and gentlemen, from what I'm reading, although it could subject to change, depending on how things go. We all know what WWE's like. But yeah, it could subject to change. But yeah, it seems that AJ Styles will possibly guarantee 100% retain the WWE Championship at No Mercy, because apparently Dean Ambrose is going away to do outside projects, and apparently apparently John Cena is also, he's got into part-time mode now, John Cena. So apparently he's going away and doing outside projects too. So that pretty much leaves the guarantee that AJ Styles will be WWE World Champion after No Mercy, according to NoDQ.com. Now, the possible feud for AJ Styles after No Mercy, going into, I believe, Survivor Series, will see him either be pitted against Randy Orton or Dolph Ziggler. I would probably say Randy Orton on that one. I would probably want to see, as a wrestling fan, I would like to see AJ Styles one-on-one with Randy Orton more than I'd like to see AJ Styles one-on-one with Dolph Ziggler. Although Dolph Ziggler could be Intercontinental Champion, and also Dolph Ziggler may not be Intercontinental Champion. Hell, if he doesn't win the Intercontinental Championship at No Mercy, he may not even be around to face AJ Styles. But that's the issue. Anyway, so I would probably prefer, in my opinion, AJ Styles, Randy Orton at No Mercy. That's just my opinion on that one. I would imagine a few other wrestling fans out there would probably want to say that as well. The thought of AJ Styles going one-on-one with Randy Orton. I mean, that's just a dream match in itself, no question about that. Especially it being for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Yeah, but that's what the news I have today, guys. The bit of news that I wanted to talk about and get out of the way. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I will be back in part 2 with Clash of Champions, and then I'll be back in part 3 after Clash of Champions with very piss-poor Raw and a good Smackdown. And my thoughts on Raw in general, because this week's episode of Raw was completely, in my opinion, piss-poor. Find out what I say right after this. There's a lot to get through on the podcast, guys. Stay tuned. If you like the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not check out their Facebook page at facebook.com/WM podcast and like the page and show your support to the podcast that stands up for professional wrestling, the Wrestling Matters podcast. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to part 2 of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Now, it's time for Clash of Champions. Yeah, not happy with this show, by the way. There was a few booking decisions on there which were stupid, in my opinion. We'll kick off with the kickoff show. Nia Jax did prove the dominance, which is what she needed to be, by defeating Alicia Fox in there. Chris Jericho defeated Sami Zayn, which actually surprised me, quite frankly. But hey, it's like I said, that was like the AJ Styles. Everybody expected AJ Styles to win, even me. But they fucked him over, and Jericho got the victory, but hey, Jericho's good nonetheless, although I am a little pissed off with him. More on that in a second. WWE Cruiserweight Champion TJ Perkins and Brian Kendrick put on an epic match. Great debut for them in terms of their first match on pay-per-view. It was great. Action-packed stuff, wrestling as well, which is, the symbol of this Cruiserweight division, if you will, and what a great division it's going to be. I think it's going to go well. It's going to go places. A lot of news that I've heard that TJ Perkins has heat with a lot of the guys backstage. I don't know why that is, but there seems to be also building a great feud between him and Brian Kendrick, which I'm very much looking forward to. If that's the case, because there's a lot of history with them in the past. A lot of people, all the times they've helped each other in the past. And Brian Kendrick, TJ Perkins, his first ever wrestling show, the first ever wrestling show he went to, he actually got picked up by Brian Kendrick, so that's a great feud to build that on. Cesaro and Sheamus ended in a no contest. Terrific. I'm not going to say anything about this one, guys. I'm going to wait until the Raw review, because what happened on Raw was fed off this, because, don't get me wrong, they actually put on a good match, but to end it the way they did was bullshit. Nobody wanted to see that. And I'll say my piece about this match in the Raw review, because what happened after it was, quite frankly, bullshit, in my opinion, and made no sense whatsoever. So I'll get to that in the Raw review. I'll save that for the Raw review. Raw Tag Team Champions, The New Day, are still the Tag Team Champions. And I think it's just crystal clear right now, guys, that WWE are royally, and I do mean royally, fucking over the club. Gallows and Anderson, that is. Why aren't they putting the belts on these guys? Yes, New Day has had great tag team. They're a great tag team, threesome, three birds and that. But why aren't they putting the belts on Gallows and Anderson? If they put the belts on Gallows and Anderson, I guarantee you they would dominate the fuck out of this division. But they don't. That's the thing. It's just stupidity at its best. And I'm sorry, but I don't like it. I really don't, if I'm being honest. I really do not like it. Anyway, New Day still retain the tag team titles, and one was a good match, I'm not denying that, but, you know, if they don't change the tag team scene now and put the belts on new champions like Gallows and Anderson or whoever else that's going to be involved, should be Gallows and Anderson. If they don't do it now, they're going to get stale. I mean, yeah, they've had a good run, New Day, but it's time for a change. I'm sorry, but it's time for a change. At the end of the day, it is. It's time for a change. The women's title, Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Charlotte, was a good match. And yes, it was no disqualification. I get it. Yada, yada, yada. I don't care. But it saw Dana Brooke get involved, which absolutely spoiled it for me. And I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the booking side of it. And yeah, it was what it was at the end of the day. So you can't fault that. You can't deny it. At the end of the day, it was a good match. You knew it would be, but did it need Dana Brooke getting involved? No, it didn't, quite frankly. And it's not over between these three by a long shot, and Sasha will probably get a rematch going into Hell in a Cell. So there'll be a new champion. There's no question about that. There'll definitely be a new champion, and it's brewing to be a new champion as well. But yeah, it's just a bad booking decision to have Dana Brooke get involved. Yeah, she's outside. Yes, it's no disqualification. I get that, but nah, it didn't work for me. That Roman Reigns defeated Rusev, which was, we knew what was going to happen, and anyone with a blind eye could have saw that. But, and I hate to say this, I'm not blowing smoke up Roman's rear end or anything like that. I got to give him credit because they actually both had a good match, and Rusev made Roman Reigns earn the victory. You can't fault that. I can't deny that. Nonetheless, I cannot deny that. So, and congrats, Roman Reigns, probably the most predictable thing out of the whole match, of the whole night as well. The most predictable thing out of the match and everything is now the United States champion. Does he need it? No, but hey, it is what it is at the end of the day. Now for the main event, which was an awesome main event. Back and forth stuff, hard hitting, close near falls, and everything you expect out of this match, especially if you used to watch these two in Ring of Honor, because these two put on epic matches in Ring of Honor back in the day. I don't know. I don't remember if they ever faced each other back in Ring of Honor. I'm pretty sure they did. But yeah, great match, unbelievable match, back and forth stuff, and it was just beautiful to watch. It really was. That was until Chris Jericho came down. For what reason, I do not know. Why he came down, I don't know. But it was just the most pointless thing ever. I get that he's supposedly the best friend of Kevin Owens. And I get the supposedly rumours flying around that he's going to be involved in a storyline with Rollins and Owens at the end of the day, because this best friend thing is going to eventually split up. Because apparently they're planning a triple threat match at some point as well. I don't know why they just put Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho in one-on-one match, to be honest with you, but in any event, that was stupid. Yeah, the whole point, the whole thing was just pointless. An epic match, and even Corey Graves, who's turning into the JBL of Raw again, replacing, acting like he's a replacement for JBL on Monday Night Raw, even he agreed with it. It didn't need Chris Jericho getting involved. It was just a great, unbelievable, awesome match, ruined by Chris Jericho's antics. And I'm sorry, I love Chris Jericho, in terms of in-ring work and everything, sometimes with characters and heels and everything like that. But in any event, he's just good nonetheless. It didn't need him coming down, and it spoiled what was a, quite frankly, awesome match. And I was into it. I was enjoying it. Back and forth stuff. The crowd were chanting, "This is awesome." But the whole thing was ruined by Chris Jericho coming down, which was the most pointless thing ever. It didn't need it to happen. But in any event, when Stephanie brought out the referee after getting knocked down, because Owens was going to do a pop-up powerbomb, and then he ran right into the Rollins went right into the referee, and then referee came out, even though he checked on the referee first, you clown. Get in the ring, and then just as he's getting in the ring, Owens hits the pop-up powerbomb and gets the victory. Basically, this whole storyline on Raw is getting out of control. Do I think Stephanie had something to do with this? Hell yeah, she did. I don't care what anyone says. Even Foley confronted her on Raw, which I'll talk about in the next part. Even Foley confronted her on Raw, and she got all Vince McMahon on him. But I don't think anybody is doubting it. And it could be the end of Roman Reigns. Not Roman Reigns. It could be the end of the Raw GM, or Foley being on the Raw GM. Because I seriously think they're planting the seed for where he eventually leaves and not become GM of Raw anymore. I seriously think that. And that's going to leave Stephanie in the lurch. Because who would want to go on the Raw and work with her unless they're going to have sex with her in the back room? Exactly. They may as well bring Triple H back. I can't believe I just said that, but you get what I'm saying. You know, you get what I'm saying out of it. It just needs. You know, you'd be best off putting Triple H back, and it's exactly the same reason why Shane McMahon came back in the first place. Because it's just, oh man, I mean, I was very disappointed with this pay-per-view. It was a good pay-per-view, but the booking, why is booking decisions the downfall of what potentially could be a good pay-per-view? Not grind though, you know, what potentially could be a great pay-per-view. It seems to be at the end of the day that booking decisions are the downfall of what could potentially be a great pay-per-view. And going into this, Clash of Champions was that, but you know, again, booking decisions, man. WWE logic. And I don't understand it, in my opinion. I really don't. But in any event, guys, SmackDown in terms of pay-per-views, SmackDown is winning. It's definitely winning after that. But we'll see as time progresses. And that about wraps it up for part 2 of this. Guys, I'll be back in part 3 with Raw and SmackDown. A good SmackDown, but a lackluster Monday Night Raw. See you after this.
There's only one wrestling podcast that gives you honest, uncut opinions and the most unique trivia since WWE did The Weakest Link. And the only place you can hear the show-stealing podcast promo every single week.
Covering WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground. Max Wrestling Podcast is the place for you. Join myself, Evan Money McCabe, the Phoenix, and the Butcher, Sundays at 7 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time with your host, Danny Dangerously, on VOC Nation and the Swerve Talk Network.
Go to maxwrestling.wix.com/maxwrestling or follow us at maxwrestling UK for more details.
Give in to the madness.
Be sure to check out the Wrestling Matters channel at www.youtube.com/AJW Wrestling Matters for my exclusive review series that I'm doing on WCPW, What Culture Pro Wrestling, brought to you by the good folks at whatculture.com. Each and every week, I'll be reviewing their shows, whether it's loaded or their big upcoming shows as well, each and every week on their YouTube channel. Be sure to check out the Wrestling Matters channel for review shows each and every week. You can also download them for free on SoundCloud. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Lovely people of the Wrestling Matters podcast, welcome back to the third part of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Still to come on the podcast, part 2 of Evren Orion interview, plus a lot more as well. Double dose of ICW as well. Now, it seems, ladies and gentlemen, a bit of breaking news here. Tonight's Monday Night Raw, we'll see Charlotte defend the title against Sasha Banks. So, speaking of Raw, last week's Raw, which was diabolical, quite frankly, opened up with a United States title match. US Champion Roman Reigns versus Rusev ended in a double count-out. Once again, the Raw Tag Team Champions, New Day beat Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Bayley beat Anna Fields, who was an indie wrestler. Cedric Alexandra and Rich Swann, took on Lince Dorado and Drew Gulak. Those of you that know Drew Gulak from Evolve. I'll get to this in a second. Cesaro and Nick Coulter Cesaro and Sheamus beat Nick Coulter and Willis Williams. Sasha Banks confronted the Women's Champion Charlotte, leading into the match this coming week, or tonight rather. And Cruiserweight Champion TJ Perkins defeats Tony Nese in his debut. Seth Rollins crashed the highlight reel with Kevin Owens, only to have Big Cass crash them and have a tag team main event with Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho, which I'll get to in a second. Now, going back to part 2, Cesaro-Sheamus. Cesaro-Sheamus had an unbelievable match, and I'll give him credit. The last match, they were going out with a bang. 3-all, fuck it. Let's go out with a bang. What the hell person came up with the idea to make it a no contest? I don't know. So, that left Foley in a little bit of a kerfuffle. What were they going to do? Were they going to have a winner? Because everybody wanted to see a winner. Well, Foley comes out and books them together as a tag team. He said he was going to give them a title shot, and both of them proved that they could hang and get physical and whatnot. So Sheamus and Cesaro are now a tag team, apparently. And Foley even said that he only did it because of the Odd Couple thing. Foley is retarded in terms of the GM thing. He's a legend in real. He's a legend and all that. Da. But, you know, and you wonder why Cesaro's getting underused. He is getting underused. And Daniel Bryan put on Twitter, when's your contract up? Because we'll take you on SmackDown. Cesaro replied back, I'll look into it. You can't blame Cesaro for going to SmackDown. Swagger did it. Jack Swagger did it. And I think Cesaro will be next. Either that or he's going to leave WWE. That's the rumour as well. He could very well leave WWE. But it just made no sense whatsoever. The other main talking point of Raw was the main event. Seth Rollins crashed the highlight reel. Everybody wanted to see him get at Kevin Owens and maybe Chris Jericho as well for what happened at Clash of Champions. But apparently he wasn't cleared to wrestle. So you had all the security people go out and all that. Even Foley tried to stop him as well from going out, but he wasn't having none of it. And he even turned around and said to Foley, those ain't your words. There's more like Stephanie's words. What is going on Raw? And instead of getting Seth Rollins attacking Kevin Owens, or maybe a Chris Jericho Seth Rollins match, we end up getting a tag team match involving Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens, Enzo Amore and Big Cass as the main event. Nothing against Big Cass, nothing against Enzo Amore, but did we really want to see that main event? Did we really want to see Raw end like that? No, we didn't. At least I didn't. It's just diabolical. Credit to the Cruiserweights for stealing the show. Cedric Alexander, Rich Swann, Lindsay Dorado and Drew Gulak. Almost said Gaelic there, but anyway. And shout out to TJ Perkins and Tony Nese for doing their thing as well. Raw was average. And you want to know something about Raw? I almost forgot about this. I'll show you, or I'll let you know how bad Raw was. I'll let you know. NoDQ.com, shout out to Aaron Rift and Jeff Meacham as well, but mainly Aaron Rift because he runs the site. They put up on the website the chants even. There's a little thing on their website as well about them looking into Chris Jericho and Chris Jericho becoming Universal Champion. I don't think that's going to happen. He's going to be off soon to record an album. That's probably one of the questions he got in his little, his little Q&A thing that he does. And successfully does as well. It's a good little Q&A thing that he does. No DQ Q&A, I believe they call it. But, going back to this, the SmackDown Raw figures, and I'll leave this in the description below, courtesy of NoDQ.com. This is how bad Raw was, ladies and gentlemen. I'll read the top bit. The September 26, 2016 edition of Monday Night Raw did 2.478 million viewers in the rating overall. This is down from last week's 2.684 million viewers, which is basically 2.6 million, nearly 2.7, and that is nearly 2.5 million viewers, as well as competition from the first presidential debate during the second and third hours. The debate averaged 80.9 million viewers across the 12 networks that it aired. This is how bad Raw became. 8 p.m. hour of Raw, the hourly breakdown. 8 p.m., 2.850 million viewers. I'm just reading it as it is, guys. If that sounds wrong, I know, but it's basically 2.8 million viewers. 2.8 and a half, if that's the term. I'm not very good at maths. 9 p.m., it went from 2.850 million viewers to 2.381 million viewers. Yeah. And then at 10 p.m., it went from 2.8 to 2.3 to 2.203 million viewers. Shout out to ShowBuzzDaily.com for the numbers as well. And shout out to NoDQ for having that on their website. That's how bad Raw became, guys. That's how bad Raw was. And like I say, I'll leave a link in the description below. I will save that, I'll bookmark that, and I'll leave it in the description below for you to check out on YouTube, SoundCloud, and wherever else you're listening to this as well. Mainly my websites, I don't know. But mainly SoundCloud and YouTube. Oh my God. That's all I've got to say is, oh my God. That's how bad Raw was, guys. Because it was horrible. And that's the first time it's been horrible since Shane McMahon came back. And after WrestleMania. Because after WrestleMania, it started getting good. And then, down. It might not have got good in ratings, but it was getting good to me as a viewer because I was enjoying it. Oh boy. We may be witnessing the downfall of Monday Night Raw. Because let's face it, Smackdown is I don't care what anyone says. Smackdown is definitely winning this war. Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan have to be rolling on the floor, laughing at Stephanie and I say Mick, but I guess at the end of the day, it's not Mick Foley's fault. He's still wrapped up in the fact that Stephanie had something to do with Triple H interfering in that 4-way match on Raw to determine the Universal Champion, which Kevin Owens won. He still believes Stephanie had something to do with it, and Stephanie went all Vince McMahon on him, which was just stupid. Foley just needs to leave. You know, that's what he needs to do. He just needs to get off Raw. Yes, he's enjoying it, yada, yada, yada. But I think Stephanie's just getting too egotistical for him, in my opinion. Anyway, moving on to SmackDown, the A show, ladies and gentlemen. Monday, SmackDown kicked off with the mind games continued between Bray Wyatt challenging Orton to come and find him, which he does out of nowhere wearing a sheep's mask, much to the dismay of Bray Wyatt. And yes, it is decided, ladies and gentlemen, October 9th, Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, one-on-one. And I probably will going to get it this time, unlike what happened at Backlash. The Usos and the Ascension defeat Heath Slater, Rhino, and American Alpha in an 8-man tag. Carmella and Natalya defeat Nikki Bella and Naomi. Mrs. Cleveland Homecoming made to a major announcement for No Mercy, which I'll get to in a second. Alexia Bliss ambushed Becky Lynch, and WWE World Champion AJ Styles defeated Dean Ambrose with a little bit of help from John Cena in a way. And then John Cena makes a statement, F-viewing or attitude adjusting both men, and holding up the WWE Championship as SmackDown went off the air. Now, Miz's Cleveland Homecoming led to a new major announcement. Miz is scheduled to defend the Intercontinental Championship at No Mercy against Dolph Ziggler. It's going to happen, with a little stipulation now. Dolph wins, he becomes Intercontinental Champion. He loses, he's done in WWE. That's right, if Miz beats him, he's out of WWE. So I think that leads me to believe that Miz is going to be dropping the belt at No Mercy against Dolph Ziggler. Surely they don't let him go like that. Surely to God. And if they do, they're idiots. Yes, Dolph is good. Dolph is great. He's a great wrestler. There's no question about that. Yes, he's turned into HBK. I get that. But surely they don't let him go. Surely no. Anywho, like I say, guys, I'll remind you of the rumours that I got. That's stated at the top of the show. Dean Ambrose and John Cena are going to be part-timers. They're going away doing outside business, so it's more likely guaranteed that AJ Styles will retain at No Mercy. But that's just a rumour, guys. It may very well not happen. We don't know. Never say never, though. But that was SmackDown, guys, and compared to Raw, I actually enjoyed it. Even though it was 2 hours, there wasn't that much on to fill in. But hey, I enjoyed it. Mainly built around the Randy Orton-Bray Wyatt feud, and then there was the Intercontinental title as well. But SmackDown is dominant in terms of this, in terms of what's going down and everything, man. SmackDown is dominant, and as it should be. Thank you, God. I mean, blooming heck. The whole situation at the end of the day is, for Raw anyway, it's just bad, man. They need to improve quick, and I'm starting to think the cruiserweights are thinking maybe it was a mistake coming to Raw. I know they brought them on Raw, trying to fill up time because Raw's 3 hours and SmackDown's 2, but Raw needs to do better than what they did this past week, man, because this past week's Raw was horrible. Not the worst Raw I've ever seen. I have seen worse, but I didn't enjoy it. Anyway, guys, that is the end of part 3. I will be back in part 4 with double dose of NXT, a double dose of Ring of Honor, and a double dose of TNA, last week's and this week's. So, see you in a bit.
Be sure to listen to the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast.
What?
Every Sunday with Kinny Killer and the Galdem Sugar Shugs.
Yes! Yes!
With all the news, views, and laughter that you want.
They like jet airplanes. Woo! They like long limousines.
Every Sunday, the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast on Podomatic, iTunes, and YouTube.
So why don't you choke on that, slap nut?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Wrestling Madness Podcast. My name is Anthony Walker, for those of you that have just tuned in. And it is part 4, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the part where I do the NXT, TNA, and Ring of Honor. This week, you're going to get 2 lots. That's right, you're going to get 2 lots of the promotions because I wasn't able to do it last week. Last week I was with Kinny, and we covered Raw, SmackDown, and made Clash of Champions predictions as well. By the way, while I get this sorted out, something I forgot to bring up in the Clash of Champions one, a little favourite spot in the Kevin Owens-Seth Rollins match, where Kevin Owens was on top of the announce table and he did the DX chop to the referee. That was just funny. But like I say, shame it got spoilt by Chris Jericho. Not Chris Jericho. Shame it got spoilt by... Yeah, actually, did it get spoiled by Chris Jericho? I don't know. I don't remember what the hell happened in that match. Yeah, he got spoiled by Chris Jericho. Sorry, a little brain fart there. My bad. Right. September 21st, ladies and gents. Let's go to September 21st's NXT results. Let's do them, and then we'll go to September 28th. That's 2 weeks worth of NXT. And even though Cedric Alexander's in the cruiserweight division, because he's a cruiserweight, he made his debut on NXT on September 21st. So WWE, or Triple H in particular, must have signed him to an NXT deal, which is a smart move. It is actually a smart move. I mean, how can you not sign this guy? How can you not sign this guy? Anyway, it all kicked off with Samoa Joe demanding his NXT championship back because apparently Nakamura is out injured. Austin Aries defeats on a Lorcan. I hope I said that right. On a Lorcan. I hope I said that right. If I didn't, I apologize. Billy Kay defeats Aliyah. And Cedric Alexander makes his NXT debut against Andre Almes. And very successful too. It was a great match. I actually saw the match, like I saw the show as well. But yeah, it seems that Shinsuke Nakamura is out injured. Samoa Joe came out with a doctor's release, or doctor's pass, or whatever the fuck. Doctor's information on the injury, yes, let's just say that. And apparently Mr. Nakamura is injured. So, NXT results. Full NXT results of September 28th edition of NXT. The 2016 Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic will begin again next week. Ty Dillinger and Angelo defeats Angelo Dawkins. Samoa Joe's demolition of the NXT roster begins. He came out and attacked two guys as they were about to go for a tag team match or something. The Authors of Pain make their mark. Ember Moon makes her mark against Mandy Rose. The Authors of Pain defeat Jesus Wynett and Jonathan Cruz. Probably destroying them would be a better term for it. The NXT Women's Championship, or Women's Champion rather, Liv Asuka defeated Liv Morgan in a non-title match. And the main event was Lindsay Dorado, who's also on NXT now, taking on Hideo Itami. And Mr. Itami beats him. And a little moment there as well, which I'll read out. With the aftershock of Regal's huge announcement still reverberating through the full-scale anniversary, Ty Dillinger took to the ring to keep his hot streak going against Angelo Dawkins. The superstar, who calls himself the Cruise of Greatness, tried his best to keep the perfect 10 locked on Dawkins Island, but was no stopping Ty Dillinger. The perfect 10 looked impressive as he picked up the win. While Dillinger was indeed impressive in his victory, his night got a little more glorious after the bell. Bobby Roode emerged from the locker room and revealed that he wants to win the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Roode declared that to win the huge tournament, he didn't just need any partner, he needed the perfect partner. Appealing to Dillinger's close ties to the American dream, extended the invitation to join forces. Dillinger accepted and made it clear that he is doing this for Dusty Rhodes, making the first team in the classic perfectly glorious partnership. Yeah, I dig that. I dig that indeed. It's all building up to the it's all building up now to the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. But that is Ring of Honor. Not Ring of Honor. That is NXT. Ring of Honor is about to come now. And Ring of Honor, like I say, guys, 2 weeks worth. 2 weeks worth of Ring of Honor. I've managed to watch and save for this moment as well. Yeah, 2 weeks worth of Ring of Honor. Very, very good Ring of Honor, in my opinion. A couple of good moments in Ring of Honor. I'll try and remember the 21st one. I've recently watched the September 28th version. I believe it's September 28th. I believe Ring of Honor is on a Wednesday in America. But anyway, it kicked off with Steve Corino making his return after a year suspension to announcing. I beg to differ on that one because he was Mr. Wrestling 3, but that's another issue for another day. The Guerrillas of Destiny, 2 members of the Bullet Club, went up against All Night Express, representing the Cabinet. And the Guerrillas of Destiny managed to get the victory in what was a great tag match. A very good tag match. Lee and Taylor, these 2 big monsters, and I believe it's Lee, or Taylor, it's one of them. One of them has an issue and a past with a member of with Raw from the Raw Machine. And they have a history together. And they came out and destroyed 2 jobbers, and then one of the guy who's got the history with Raw from the War Machine got into it with him. Apparently, there's a past there, and the past has came back to haunt a member of the War Machine, and these 2 went at it, and chair shots caused a no disqualification, well, a no contest, and Raw takes a powerbomb from the big monsters through a table. And it emerged with a main event, great 6-man tag, all building up to the 6-man tag team tournament. But it was a 6-man tag nonetheless. And The Addiction and Kamatachi took on Roppongi Vice and Okada, the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. Or IWGP Heavyweight Champion. And Addiction and Kamatachi got the victory, which was impressive, because I didn't expect them to win that. But they did. And Addiction building all the momentum they can towards Ladder Wars as well. Ring of Honor 2, which was the second week, saw Silas Young and Toru Yano, go at it in what was a great match, hard-hitting match to begin the show. And Silas manages to beat Yano at his own game, because even though Yano gets cheered a lot, he manages to do some dirty moves in the thing, low blows and shit like that. And Young beat him at his own game, and then continued the punishment after the bell until the Briscoes came down. There was a promo that was up. I don't know if it's up on the YouTube channel. I will check it out. It was from Christopher Daniels. I saw it on Facebook, and it was beautiful. It was a brilliant promo. And if I can find the promo, I will put it in the description on YouTube and SoundCloud. I'll shut it in there, so be sure to check that out and click on the link. It is worth a watch. Cheeseburger made his return to Ring of Honor television to take on Damian Martinez, who has now aligned himself with BJ Whitmer and Kevin Sullivan. Damian dominates Cheeseburger, and Corino and Kevin Sullivan argue at the announce table. Kevin tries to make Corino bad, but Will Ferrara comes out and tries to save his friend, Cheeseburger, but Damian, who's supposed to be his friend, attacks him and puts it aside. There's still some beef there with him, to be honest. Some unfinished business there with Corino and Whitmer and Kevin Sullivan. Will Corino turn heel and turn on his friends? And I don't know what the name they were giving him, but they were giving him some sort of a name. But yeah, there's still unfinished business there. And Adam Cole and Adam Page, representing the Bullet Club, Adam Cole being the Ring of Honor World Champion, took on Tanahashi and Michael Elgin. And Elgin's team win the match with Elgin pinning Page, sending a message to Adam Cole as well. And it was a great tag match, back and forth stuff, and it was all like building into their match at All-Star Extravaganza, where when Adam Cole will be defending the Ring of Honor World Championship against Michael Elgin. So, very good Ring of Honor. Ring of Honors, I suppose you'd say. Because that was 2 lots worth of Ring of Honors right there for you guys, just like it was 2 lots worth of NXT. Now, like I said at the beginning of the show, with the TNA situation, they managed to get some shows out that they had. I can understand why these were recorded in time, in the way they were recorded, man. Because, like I say, guys, it's the truth. I don't like them fanboys that I was talking to recently about TNA. But yeah, TNA's in the doghouse. TNA is definitely in the doghouse. I'll start with the 22nd. TNA, and then we'll go from there. The first match saw Drew Galloway versus Eddie Edwards in the semi-finals of the inaugural Impact Grand Championship. I have no idea what this tournament or this belt is all about, quite frankly. But just like I predicted, guys, I predicted it. Drew Galloway wins by split decision. And just like I predicted, guys, there was another match later on in the evening, which saw Aaron Rex, better known to you as Damien Sandow. He won his match. And like I predicted, Aaron Rex went goes one-on-one with, goes one-on-one with Drew Galloway at the show, the Bound for Glory show, which could be cancelled. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. There was a segment between Galloway, EC3 and Bobby Lashley. Backstage segment featuring Maria. Aaron Rex and Eli Drake promo. I'm guessing that was the match. Eli Drake and Aaron Rex. Mike Bennett and Bobby Lashley were backstage. Second match, Eli Drake and Aaron Rex in the semi-final. And Aaron Rex won by pinfall in the third round. And he will go, like I say, he will go on to face Drew Galloway. They have a backstage segment themselves, and the Decay run riot backstage as well. Something that was nothing new. Decay and Hardy's in-ring segment, all building into their tag match. Wish this site would stay still that I'm on, man, for God's sakes. Anywho, Moose and EC3 were backstage. DJ Z's in-ring promo as well. A lot of promos on this episode, man. No wonder TNA's in this shit. DJ Zima and Trevor Lee for the X Division Championship, which I'm guessing, Zima Ion wins that. Again, Maria Kanellis backstage with Ali. Maria's public workout turns into a nightmare because she gets sneak attacked by Gail Kim. I remember seeing that as well. Like I said, there's a lot of backstage, promos, a lot of segments on this show, man. I mean, no wonder TNA's in this shit. Bear with me, guys. This is just running slow. Right? We got back working again, so hopefully this now. Oh, for God's sake. Stay still, for fuck's sake. I apologize, guys, but this site that I'm using to get these TNA results for you is very frustrating. The Bound for Glory, or supposed Bound for Glory match card sees EC3, Bobby Lashley versus EC3 for the TNA World title, Mike Bennett and Moose, Broken Hardy's challenge Decay for the World Tag Team titles in the Great War, Maria Kanellis defends her Knockouts title against Gail Kim, Drew Galloway and Aaron Rex in the finals for the Impact Grand Slam. Cody Rhodes makes his TNA debut. And Gail Kim will be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I'm guessing he's going by the name of Cody Rhodes, so fair play to WWE for allowing that to happen. Mike Bennett and Bobby Lashley took on EC3 and Moose. And EC3 and Moose won that. I'm guessing that was the main event. Yep, it was. And that was the end of the TNA results from week 1, which was the 22nd, I believe. So, go back to the home page and I'll go and get TNA's for this past week. So here we go. Bobby Lashley and Ethan Carter III in an in-ring segment to kick off the show. Still there. First match was DJ Z and Eddie Edwards, bouncing off from last week's show. And DJ Z wins that. Maria Kanellis and Ali backstage segment again. Moose and Mike Bennett in a sit-down interview. I think they'll be meeting at Bound for Glory. I don't know. I don't remember the thing. Second match was Madison Rayne versus Lauren Van Nys with Ali. I hope I said that right. And Laurel won for some reason. Team Lashley backstage. Drew Galloway and Alan Rex in-ring segment. All leading into their match at Bound for Glory. Rosemary and the Decay versus Rebby Hardy with Broken Hardy and Brother Nero. and Reby wins by DQ, and I think she gets put through a table by the Decay. And Team Lashley will have team advantage going into Lethal Lockdown. Hardy's in the Decay brawl backstage. Gail Kim and Maria Kanellis sit down interview. Eli Drake and Tyrus backstage segment. Bound for Glory match card sees going into Bound for Glory. It sees Bound for Gold match. Tyrus versus Robbie E versus Jesse Goodhart versus Cody Rhodes versus Byron Dax versus Grado versus Rockstar Spud versus Mahalby Shutter versus Braxton Shutter. Oh, that's where Mahal Bashir has gone now. He's gone join them. Okay. Versus Eli Drake. Okay. Fair enough. Maria Kanellis versus Gail Kim for the TNA Knockouts title. Decay and Broken Hardys for the tag belts. Moose versus Mike Bennett. Aaron Rex meets Drew Galloway. And what was a no-holds-barred match, or what was for the TNA World title, is now for the TNA World Championship, but a no-holds-barred match. Bobby Lashley and EC3, and it was all based off the team EC3 versus team Bobby Lashley. Team EC3 saw Ethan Carter III, Moose, Aaron Rex, and Gail Kim versus Team Lashley, Bobby Lashley, Mike Bennett, Drew Galloway, and Maria Kanellis in Lethal Lockdown. And Team Lashley won, and he picked the stipulation which saw a one-on-one match for the TNA World title in a no-holds-barred match, because Lashley plans on hurting him. But there you are, guys. That is the end of this part. I'll be back right after this with ICW. 2 lots of ICW, hopefully. And then I'll be back in part 5 with... And I'll be back in the next part after that with the part 2 of the Evren Orion interview as well. I will just play that. I will feed into that from the next part after ICW, so I will just play that. I won't bore you to death or anything like that. I'll just go into that in part. That will take place in part 6, I believe. So that will just take place. That will be the segment in part 6, the Evren Orion interview. So that'll be part 2 in part 6. So, and then I'll be back in the final part with an outro or something like that. So, still more to come here on the Wrestling Matters Podcast. Stay tuned. If you like the Wrestling Matters Podcast, why not follow the Wrestling Matters Podcast now on Twitter at WM Podcast for all professional wrestling news. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to part 5 of the Wrestling Matters Podcast. And it is now time, ladies and gents, for a double dose of ICW. That's right, Insane Championship Wrestling. I am going to bring you, week before's September 21st, I believe it was, the Friday Night Fight Club, and then I'm going to run through the results of the show with the Friday Night Fight Club show, and then the University Challenge they did. They did a University Challenge show as well. So, yeah, that was good, and it was actually a good show as well. I'll run through the results of that in a second. ICW Friday Night Fight Club, September 23rd's airing of it on the subscription, that is the on-demand service. Joe Coffey went one-on-one with Timothy Thatcher to start, and these two just literally beat the hell out of each other. Great wrestling to start off, and they just bounced each other. You know, hard-hitting stuff, good physical wrestling match, and Timothy Thatcher showed a good outing for, not bad for somebody who made his debut. And Joe Coffey is on the high right now, and he is fast-forwarding, if you will, to the Hydro when he meets Kurt Angle at Fear and Loathing on November 20th. A very mean streak from Joe Coffey as well. Some things that were in there that were very on Joe Coffey. But a half-foot win for Joe. He hit him with a discus clothesline and got the victory. DCT had to pass a medical. He was suspended. And then the doctor came out, and he forced the doctor to pass him, quite frankly, because the Coach Tripp had him in a camel clutch. And then Jester comes out, attacks him from behind, and then Red Lightning comes out and puts Jester in a match with DCT, and Jester beats him. Pretty much said and done on that one, really. Dumps him on his head and everything, and then Jester beats him. More Red Lightning bullshit, which hopefully ends November 20th. Kenny Williams and Kid Fight. Kenny Williams came out, was attacked by Kid Fight on the way out. Kid attacked him from the start. It was a good back and forth match, don't get me wrong. Nothing really much in it. And another bad refereeing decision, bad call, cost Kenny the match because Shah came down, distracted Kid Fight, or at least tried to. The referee got distracted by it, and then Kenny had Kid Fight beat, but then Kid Fight took advantage of the distraction, and then he had a fight with his former tag team partner. Hopefully these two will meet at the pay-per-view, which is Fear and Loathing, because it'll be on iPay-per-view. And then for the undisputed ICW Tag Team Championships was a Local Fire and Mark Coffey and Jackie Polo Promotions versus Local Fire, and Polo Promotions are your undisputed ICW World Tag Team Champions, and they wrestled an absolute clinic, which is what got them to victory anyway. And not only are Polo Promotions the undisputed ICW Tag Team Champions, they will go on to the Hydro to meet Team 3D. That's right. So at the Hydro, it will be Team 3D going up against Polo Promotions. Will it be for the ICW Tag Team titles? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. There was a junction on the University Challenge show that they did, September 17th, which allowed Polo Promotions to not defend the titles against, who was it? Just let me have a look. It was, the Handsome Men's Club. That's right, the Handsome Men's Club, and I'll get to that in a second. Anyway, the University Challenge show, which took place at Glasgow University, a little special show for the Glasgow people, or the people of Glasgow University, so September 17th, and it aired yesterday, Friday in fact, 30th September 30th, on ICW On Demand. It was BT Gunn and Kenny Williams 1-on-1, and BT managed to win a high-paced, high-intense match. Bit of a blow for Kenny Williams, because he seems to not get a win lately. Aaron Echo and Tam the Ram McGill, Aaron Echo wins that match. The Rich Kids, which are now not called the Rich Kids of Instagram, they're just called the Rich Kids, Carl Chaos and Austin Osiris took on the Prudge, which is Steve James and Crowbar. And is it the Prudge? Just destroyed them, basically. And then they hit him with Death Row. They hit someone with Death Row after the match. DCT went 1-on-1 with Chris Renfrew in what turned to be a Scottish rules match. It was a drink fest at first, and then there was some wrestling. It was no rules, a war, and Renfrew wins with a T-Virus. After hitting the stunner, and DCT kicks out. A lot of respect there between DCT and Chris Renfrew, if you go back and watch a previous episode of ICW Friday Night Fight Club. Flex Hunter just completely destroys Liu King Sha. Michael Chase and Chris Saint's 1-on-1 match turned into a 3-way because Jack Jester got involved, and he ended up winning the match. The Handsome Man's Club were supposed to get a ICW Tag Team title shot, but there was an injunction on it for it not to happen. Either way, it probably wouldn't have mattered because Polo Promotions had a dominant win. And Ravy Davey challenged Wolfgang. And Mark Dallas came out and made it for the ICW World Heavyweight Championship. Didn't matter anyway. Wolfgang got the victory and showed that he is the dominant man in ICW at the moment because he is the heavyweight champion. And there you have it for ICW, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I am going to be back in the following part, because right now I'm going to lead in to this commercial break, and then after the commercial break, this quick timeout, I'm going to play part 2 of the Evren Orion interview. Then after that is over, I'll be back in the last part with an outro and a few things you need to look forward to, and something on Ring of Honor as well. If you want to know what it is, stay tuned.
Greetings, Lightworkers. This is Evren Orion speaking to you via transmission. You can find us on the web at Evren Unlocked on Twitter, Instagram, and anywhere else. For Facebook, simply search us, The Collective Being, or Evren Orion, E-V-R-E-N. Orion like the belt. Lightworkers, do us a favor and do check out our Pro Wrestling Tees shop, where you can purchase your Sacred Life t-shirts, the official brand of The Collective Being. You can also view us at our website, everenorion.com. The link to our PWTs store is just simply prowrestlingtees.com/EvrenOrion. We thank you and wish you well. Unlock your reality, and we'll see you next time. We are one.
As somebody who's done wrestling training, as myself, and you've done it as well, I always learned to take a body slam, to deliver a body slam. Now, I've seen it on the ring, on the wrestling, as we all have. We've all been wrestling fans. They body slam it, and I'm sure the guy that the body slamming has worked, or the girl, depending on what you're watching, has worked with them, and they've took the bumps themselves. without being confident or taking the bumps themselves. I always learned to take a body slam when I'm lifting somebody up for a body slam, to put my left arm, because I'm right-handed.
Right on their quad.
Yeah, right on
Posting.
the quad. Yeah, but as I'm lifting the guy up, or the girl up, or whoever I'm body slamming, to wrap my arm around that person's head, and then deliver the slam to stop them from, hitting the head on the mat or whatever the heck it is, or in case they don't tuck the chin in, and like you're supposed to do when you're taking bumps and everything.
If you don't tuck your chin in, that's your fault.
Yeah, if you don't,
I mean, yes, it's my job to protect you, but at the same time, you're supposed to know how to take the bump.
But is that the way to take or to deliver a body slam? Because I've seen so many different ways.
It's a personal preference. It's what's comfortable to you.
Is it?
I don't do it.
Because I learned it that way when I was in there, to do that body slam as well, and wrap my head around.
I start the motion that way, but when I have them upside down and vertical, you can tell that my hand is more so on their upper back, kind of in between their shoulder blades a little bit.
Yeah, it's the same. Like, I mean, I always learned, but the training I did anyway, I was learned to pick somebody up. It's a simple way. Or even you do it yourself if you're taking the body slam. Make it easy for that person to lift you up. I mean, people had trouble lifting me up when I was doing the training, because I'm 6'5" and all that, and I weigh about 17, maybe 18 stone, and everything like that. So they had trouble lifting me up. So I would always make it easy for them and just go and jump up maybe into the position, and then they would body slam me, no doubt. And I always worked with them and made it easy for them in that respect, and they always did it for me as well. But yeah, I always learned to put my arm around the person's head or the person who I'm slamming's head, just to stop them from hitting, in case they don't tuck the chin in, which is, at the end of the day, it's their fault if they don't, but always to protect them that way. And I always wondered, is that the usual way to do it? But I guess in a way, it's like what you prefer at the end of the day, whatever's easy for you.
There's so many factors to that.
Yes, there is.
Arm length, and how tall is your opponent, and should you be body slamming?
Absolutely.
All those kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a guy who was he was really big, he was really like fat and everything like that and everything. And I at one point, I mean, he was not bigger than me. He was not like, I was bigger than him and probably taller than him and probably age-wise as well than him. But I came into the ring. In a normal world, he looked about 300 pounds. In a normal world. Maybe less. In a normal world, he looked about 300 pounds, let's just say that. And even though, we all know he wasn't, but he came in and I had to body slam him. And I'm like thinking to myself as I'm doing it, my promoter, the trainer who I've trained with and everything like that, saying, "Oh, you could do it," like that and everything. And I lifted him up, and after the first body slam, I was like, oh, I felt strong after it, because I was like, okay, I didn't think I could fucking do that, but I did it, and boom, and I kept on doing it. I gave him at least 3 power bombs. Same with the drop kick as well. When I did the drop kick for the first time, I mean, I didn't do like a standing drop kick like these great athletes do on the TV and everything, or like a Mr. Perfect did back in the day. My drop kick was like a Jerry Lawler. I'd take a run stance.
Right.
Get a little bit of momentum up there and then drop kick him, everything. And I'm like, I got up after my first drop kick and I'm like, okay, that worked. I don't think my trainers at the time as well saw that, or didn't see that coming as well. They're like, okay, I didn't think he'd do that, but he did it, and he did it perfectly and everything. But when you saw your training leaflet for the first time, this is the major one to throw at you, because what you've got to understand is, guys, it is a big deal taking a ring down and and setting it up. It is a huge deal. I'm not denying that whatsoever. But when I saw my leaflet for the first time to go to these wrestling trainings, schools or whatever the heck they were having there, all I saw was so many monies to have. It was £10 for adults, whatever it was for little kids. You're trained by wrestlers, yada, yada, yada. You get on wrestling shows and whatever. All that kind of usual basic stuff to draw you in. And give you or maybe get an opportunity. But I got all the information, and I said, I'll go and see what this is about, and I'm going to try this out. And I went down there, and then I got told by one of the trainers at the last second that I had to help build a ring and take it down. Now, granted, you're not going to get kids involved, because the school kids there.
Definitely not.
You're not going to get kids involved. I get that.
They can't lift that anyway.
Yeah. You can't lift anything anyway.
I mean, I guess unless they're an army of midgets, maybe.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
It'd be like Rocco's Modern Life, the medical beavers. Hup, 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 hup.
Exactly. It's not an easy thing for them anyway, and I'm not saying get them involved. But I walked in there, and I was never told about that until that point. It was not on the leaflet or anything. From somebody who's also done this kind of stuff as well, should that have, if you were a promoter, should that have been on the leaflet? If it was like important, because I've always felt that it was important, and if it was important, put it on the leaflet, because that could be a hell of an education for an up-and-coming wrestler. I mean, in my opinion, that should be the number one thing. Besides all the other basic stuffs in the ring, the fundamentals that you learn in the ring, that should be the number one thing you learn as an up-and-coming wrestler. The psychology of
absolutely,
building a ring, taking it down and everything, how it all works and everything like that, the safeties of it as well, because I would imagine, I did help on occasions as well, I'm not saying I didn't, but I would imagine as well, if it was important, and like I say, it could help a great up-and-coming wrestler, but I would imagine, coming from someone who's done it yourself, that could be dangerous as well as just being in the ring, right?
You mean in terms of setting up?
In terms of setting up, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, because there are so many, like, let's just say, this is how it works. You've got four turnbuckle posts, and then you got 4 sidewalls. And if the sidewalls are ancient relics, like my ring was, right, then you're looking at maybe 400 or 500 pounds per sidewall. And this is pure solid steel. It's like lead, basically. And then probably about another 200 to 300 per turnbuckle post. And then you have all the wood. And the wood, that alone can give you splinters. And I'm talking big giant ones to teeny little ones. So if you're not wearing gloves, you should be.
Or if you're not careful. Careful.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to wear gloves. I mean, I never wore gloves when I was lifting.
You don't have to. You just, be smart.
Exactly. Use your brain.
Be observant. Make sure that, you're grabbing a good spot if the board is kind of shitty. And then you have opportunities to hurt yourself when setting up, because if it's not an easy connect, you're busy hammering pins in. You might pinch your fingers. You might be in the wrong place at the wrong time, get your finger pinched, or someone might smack it with a hammer. You never know. So you have to be just as alert when it comes to setting up the ring as you have to be working in ring.
Yeah, and you spot on what you said definitely as well. I mean, even I learned that as well, considering the carrying of the ring posts as well as you're setting it up, because there's ring posts to carry, and those things, the other bits to the ring are different, but those things are heavy as fuck. But they're underestimated, and you have to be extremely careful where you're going. As I found out, I accidentally hit a few people with it as well. Not, maybe not being careful on my part. Either that or they just got in the way. But at the end of the day, you've got to be extremely careful, because the ring posts are the heaviest thing, and probably the most dangerous things in the ring. Like I say, there's turnbuckles there as well. You want to be careful if you're taking a bump on, or if you're carrying a ring post as well, because you could whack somebody in the face if you're not careful as well. So
it's usually good to have 2 people every time.
That's what I say. I mean, all right, I had one person on man, and I always like to test my strength in heavy things as well, in what I do and stuff like that.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely work smarter though when you're building the ring down as well. I mean, we had awkward places when we first started when I first started doing all this, man. I mean, the place where we had to go upstairs just to get to the spot where we were going to train and everything. We had to go down a corridor and go up some stairs, and that doesn't help.
No, holy shit.
If you want to be in a training facility, you have to be in a place where it's easy to get from point A to B. Because if you're going up the flight of stairs, there's a lot of work in turning stuff around just to get up to the next flight of stairs. And that doesn't help matters as well. And that could cause injuries and stuff like that as well. And it just makes it hard to do. I mean, I don't know why they didn't lose the back end of the back door, because it was like a fire door at the back of the building. And if they'd have went up that way, it'd have been a lot more easier than going up the 2 stairs that we ended up going up anyway. If they went around the back or went around the side, and then we could have done all that from there as well, but he didn't think. It's just, collective stupidity and everything. But like I say, if you were a promoter, would you put that, building the ring and taking it out? Like I said, not getting kids involved, leave them out. But would you put that on the leaflet? Because, like I said, that could be a hell of an education, and in my opinion, it should be the number 1 education for an up and coming wrestler, as well. Because I thought when I first started, I thought they said that to me, and it wasn't on the leaflet. Okay, they haven't hired me to allow me to get an opportunity to train and maybe be on shows and that. They basically called me in so they can get extra help in taking the ring down. That's what I got from it. I might be wrong on that.
Well, I mean, that's what it doesn't matter how long you've been in this business. You're going to set up and tear down the ring.
Right.
You're never too good to do it.
No.
Charlie Haas has recently got put out there because, this is a former multiple tag team champion for the WWE, setting up a ring on the indie circuit.
Yeah, and a former Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion as well.
Yes. So, I mean, would I put it on the flyer? Yeah. Would I tell you to your face too? Yes, of course.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But you got to
just like what happened to me. It was up front, and it should be up front. Period.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying as well. If you're going to be up front with it, be up front with it. Put it on the leaflet. Like I said, granted, leave the kids away. There's going to be kids there that are going to want a piece of the pie, slice of the pie in terms of wrestling as well. And you never know, maybe want to get something out of it themselves. But please, to any promoters out there, be upfront with what you're doing. Be honest. Never leave anything out on the leaflet. Because, like I've said, learning the ring, taking it down, the psychology of building the ring and taking it down, that is a hell of an education for a wrestling fan or a wrestler coming up, an up-and-coming wrestler. And that should be, in my opinion, number 1.
Usually, today it's pretty much a given, especially if you're going to indie shows anyway. All you got to do is go to the promoter or ask someone and just tell them, hey, I'm interested in becoming a wrestler. Can I try out? Or what do I need to do to be able to try out, etc.?
Yeah, there you go. That's the best way to do it as well. Not necessarily.
Do not be afraid to approach us and talk to us. It's what we're there for.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, obviously,
we're here for you, and we wouldn't be where we are if it weren't for you. So,
absolutely, that's what people, that's what promoters fail to realize on occasions as well. That if it wasn't for the people, you'd be promoting and doing wrestling shows to empty arenas. Basically.
Exactly.
If you like the Wrestling Matters Podcast, why not follow the Wrestling Matters Podcast now on Twitter @WM Podcast for all professional wrestling news. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final part of the Wrestling Matters Podcast. And this is just a quick outro, guys. That's all this is now. We're done at the podcast. Next week on this podcast, I'll bring you some What Culture Top 10s. I'll dig some few out this past week, and I promise they'll be on the show next week. So, yeah, it's been a big show. It's been, a busy show and everything, so I thought I'll end it here. Just want to come on and give you this. Swerve Talk Network, you know the score. Max Wrestling, Sunday Segway, Offshoot Radio and that. Join them. Max Wrestling with Daz and Craig Phoenix. Sunday Segway with Kinny. Check out Sunday Segway TV as well. Also Offshoot Radio with James Belmont. Check them all out, guys, and enjoy the podcast each and every weekend, week by week. Check them out. It makes sense, and you will not be disappointed. That I can assure you. Also, like I said, be sure to check out Mystery Island. For more information on Mystery Island, go to facebook.com/Back to the Island. And Fash Morgan Webster is coming down as well. So be sure to check all that out. Like I said, facebook.com/Back to the Island. And for more podcasts, WCPW and the Wrestling Matters Podcast, you can listen to these on SoundCloud. Download them for free. soundcloud.com/wrestling_matters_podcast. Also, you can listen to them on YouTube. That's right, youtube.com/AJW Wrestling Matters. Now, I'll end this podcast with something that happened over the weekend as well. Friday night, in fact. All-Star Extravaganza. That's right, Ring of Honor's All-Star Extravaganza. And I thought I'd run down the results before I end the podcast. It started with Steve Corino and Kevin Kelly welcome into the pay-per-view. And the Ring of Honor World Television Championship started the show with Bobby Fish and Donovan Dijak, which saw Bobby Fish retain the championship by submission. So, yeah. Four Corners Survival Tag Team match to determine the number one contenders for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. It featured Kenny King and Red Tigers, All Night Express, Dalton Castle, Colt Cabana, War Machine, and Shane Taylor and Keith Lee. And I'll imagine something got down with Shane Taylor and Keith Lee and the War Machine, and it all ended with Dalton Castle and Colt Cabana winning the Four Corners Survival match and becoming the number one contenders for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. Dragon Lee and Kamatachi, which saw Dragon Lee beat Kamatachi. Yeah, never thought I'd see that. Kyle O'Reilly and Hangman Page, another stepping stone to Kyle O'Reilly getting Adam Cole, and Kyle O'Reilly defeats Hangman Page by submission. The Ring of Honor 6-man tag team tournament, round 1 match. We saw the Briscoes and Toro Yano versus Super ACH, Kushida, and Jay White. And this was a bit of a Kushida replaced Leo Rush. This was a little bit of a shock to me, because the winners of the match were Super ACH, Jay White, and Kushida, and they'd advance to the semi-finals of the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team tournament. Never thought I'd see that. Naito and Jay Lethal in a grudge match, and Naito defeated Michael Elgin to become the IWGP Intercontinental Champion. So yeah, but Jay Lethal got a small measure of revenge by defeating Naito by countering the Hurricane Rana and hits his lethal injection. The Ring of Honor World Championship, Adam Cole defending against the unbreakable Michael Elgin, which saw Adam Cole beat him and retain the World Championship, as well as the Ladder Wars. That's right, Ladder Wars 6, Young Bucks, Addiction, the Motor City Machine Guns, and sees brand new Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions in the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks defeat the Addiction and Motor City Machine Guns to become the new Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. So Bullet Club has more gold. That's right. And there you have it, guys. Look out for it. If you can reorder it on pay-per-view, go and check it out. I'll be watching it at some point. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet as I'm doing this, so I will be watching it at some point to check it out. And yeah, that was the results of Ring of Honor's All-Star Extravaganza, which took place September 30th, Friday night, September 30th. And that about wraps it up for the podcast. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. I will be back next week with more Ring of Honor, ICW and more, and part 3 of the Evren Orion interview. Also, guys, for future episodes as well, Lexia Rose is going to be interviewed on this podcast at the end of October, and also King of the Mountain podcast is coming on soon as well. So all good things coming on this podcast, so be sure to subscribe if you're on the Wrestling Matters channel, and also be sure to check it out on SoundCloud as well, soundcloud.com/wrestling_matters_podcast, and the odd occasion Spreaker.com. I'm also looking for other podcast sites as well to put this on. For the time being, free podcast sites, sites that don't have made me pay things out and everything like that. I'm just trying to bring you the best podcast that I can bring you. Hope you guys enjoy it, and until next time, I'm out. Peace.
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change. Professional wrestling, this is it. This is us standing up. Yes, 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 yes. That's 13-14!
Till death!
Dina, I am the best in the world.
Cause that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold Simpson.